Hello, you're watching Tell It Like It Is, and my name is Kathy Benuck. Today's show is part of a four-part series of interviews called Race for the Governor's Council, in which you'll get to meet and hear the 3 Republicans and the 1 Democrat running to serve on the Executive Council representing District 4. Now, before this year, District 4 covered Manchester, Bedford, and 9 other towns, but now, under the redistricting, District 4 covers Manchester, Bedford, and 18 other towns to represent 1/5 of the state population, or approximately 247,000 people. Since 2003, our governor's counselor has been the amazing New Hampshire political legend, Ray Wierzurek. But earlier this year, Ray announced he wasn't going to seek re-election, so now the race is wide open to succeed him. The New Hampshire Governor's Council, or really to use its official name, the State of New Hampshire Executive Council, is the only one like it in the United States and was actually the first council when it was formed 333 years ago by King Charles II of England. Its 5 members, along with the governor, has authority and responsibility over the administration of the affairs of the state as defined in the state constitution, the state's laws, and the advisory opinions of both the New Hampshire Supreme Court and of the Attorney General. Among some of the council duties are to approve each and every expenditure throughout state government, every budgetary transfer, and every contract with a worth of $10,000 or more. So basically, the council must approve the spending of the lion's share of the state's $5.2 billion budget. And it must ensure that no state department spends more than they were authorized to do by the legislature or on any item of service not sanctioned by the legislature. The council approves the appointments of judges at every level of the judiciary and commissioners, notaries public, justices of the peace, and even the commissioners of deeds. The council must approve the receipt of monies from every direction, including the receipt of federal funds, and the council plays a major role in the infrastructure improvement through conducting hearings on the 10-year highway plan, making recommendations, and then providing the management and oversight of the 10-year highway plan. I never knew this, but the council also conducts the pardon hearings for prisoners, and it also approves over 300 people every year who will serve on the state agencies, boards, and commissions. And by the way, the governor does not have any veto authority over the council. I was fortunate enough to have about a 1-hour conversation with Ray Wierzurek recently, and a lot of my questions to the candidates will be based on what he related to me as major upcoming hot-button issues. Now, the guest right now today is Chuck Rolecek, and he's one of the Republican candidates for Governor's Council. Chuck was born in Chicago, where his dad was a Chicago police officer who became an entrepreneur when he became a tugboat owner and a deep-sea diving company owner. And Chuck really got his first taste of the workaday world when, as a kid, he worked in the family businesses. He headed off to college to attend the University of Denver, which, of course, is a well-known school for its hotel and restaurant school. He played 2 years of college hockey and was a member of the Phi Kappa Sigma fraternity, and did all this before graduating with a bachelor's in business administration. In 1978, he joined United Airlines Management Trainee Program in Chicago, and then he went on to hold key management positions within their in-flight and food services division in Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, Honolulu, that must have been tough service, and Boston. And while serving as United's general manager at Boston's Logan Airport, Chuck first moved to New Hampshire in 1985, first living in Hudson, then in Londonderry, and then finally settling with his family in Bedford 12 years ago. Now, in 1987, Chuck founded Premier Catering, which was Manchester Airport's first on-site full-service airline caterer. And then in 1989, he purchased the rights for terminal food service at Manchester Airport, and in so doing, secured the exclusive rights to airline catering and airport concessions. Over the next 10 years, he expanded Premier Catering to Boston, Colorado Springs, and Burlington, Vermont, to ultimately build a business that employed 200 people with annual sales of nearly $10 million. Now, always the entrepreneur, Chuck, in 1995, opened C.R. Sparks Restaurant in Bedford, which quickly became one of the most popular restaurants in southern New Hampshire. And in 97, that success led to the opening of the Event Center that became a hugely popular location for weddings, banquets, parties, meetings, conventions, and quite a few political victory parties. After the 9/11 attack on the United States, the airline industry, as we all know, in the United States went through some very, very dramatic changes. Changes that ended airline food service as we all knew it, and committed to keeping his employees working. In spite of that, Chuck then spent the next 5 years establishing and building an airport security business, a janitorial service company, and even owned and operated a minor league baseball team, the North Shore Spirit of Lynn, Massachusetts. In 2005, he transformed a Manchester bank building into what is today an award-winning, really destination fine restaurant, the Hanover Street Chop House in Manchester. Truly a really good place to experience. I can attest to that. Chuck's been married for 30 years to his wife, Karen, who is absolutely model-looking. Gorgeous. The couple has 2 grown sons, Steve, who works in the financial industry and lives in Boston, and Alex, who's also in the restaurant industry and lives in New York City. So, with all of that said, Chuck, thanks for being here. I'm very happy you were able to make it. I know you have a wild schedule.
Thank you, Kathy. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, you've jumped into the big race now, huh? And one of the big upcoming issues that's going to come before the Governor's Council is the state employee health contract, a cost in the vicinity of $500 million per year. I know you're relatively, new into the race. Have you had time to look into that at all?
Well, that's even more expensive than my health care premiums for my employees.
Oh, yeah,
and,
a little, huh?
As a small business person, I certainly feel the wrath of health care expenses, and I can only imagine, coming from the state's perspective with all the employees, just what a large expenditure it is. Something needs to be done for the small business person, for the state, for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think what I know is that, I hope that I believe my experience in reviewing contracts from years ago at my United days, and even today as a small businessman, will help me kind of come to the right conclusions with the rest of the counselors as we try to get our hands around this.
Mm-hmm. It's a big problem.
It really is.
Yeah, now another big issue that's been before the council is the decision to change Medicaid to a managed care system managed by private companies. And we're told that in New Hampshire, 131,000 people will be signed up for Medicaid, which is 10% of the population. All of this is supposed to start on December 1st. But we're also told that the computer operations are a humongous issue. Have you been following this, and do you think we're going in the right direction with this?
Well, I've been following it because I've been on the board at the Elliott Hospital for the last 18 months, and that has really opened my eyes to some of the Medicare, Medicaid, the whole financing issue. My feeling would be, let's not rush into this. December's right around the corner, not to mention that shortly after December you'll have a whole changeover of the guard with governor and executive counselors and all that. Once again, it's a large sum of money that requires a lot of these companies coming in here to manage it, and I think we're one of only 3 states that doesn't have this in place today. So I think my advice would be to keep the ball moving forward, but proceed cautiously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially where apparently they are absolutely not ready for December 1st.
Yeah, and I think, the more I'm listening and the more I'm kind of getting prepared for what might be my future, I'm realizing as a state we're kind of behind in the technological area in all branches.
Across the board. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Now, privatization of state prisons certainly is something also being looked at and would affect the prisons both in Goffstown and in Concord. The council did sign a $171,000 contract for a consultant study on the whole issue. What are your thoughts on privatization, and do you have any thinking on where a new prison should be located?
Well, from thoughts on privatization, I think we've had a couple of chances to experience that. First with the ski areas. I mean, we privatized Mount Sunapee, and I think the state is better for it. And the organization that took it over runs a pretty good ski area, because I myself happen to go there quite a bit. The other privatization that I'm glad we didn't go into was with the Liquor Commission. From my standpoint as an operator, I felt that we'd be giving away the future if we made a deal to go private with that. I think we can do a decent job of managing, you know, the Liquor Commission and the liquor revenues. As far as the prisons go, you know, I wouldn't, I think you have to look at it, and I think, you know, I think of the government, or I think of the state of New Hampshire managing things that maybe are more municipal in nature. I mean, the roads, the streets, the judicial system, things of that nature. I'm not sure if we can find someone to do it better, less expensive, more efficient, we should look into that. And you know, people asked me for the last couple of months, what did I think of $117,000 as a consulting contract? First of all, I said I wish I was a consultant. Secondly, in the grand scope of things, it didn't seem like it was that much money. And I believe, if I understand correctly, Councilor Wazorek put a mandate that they had to have their study done by the end of the year. So they have to work hard for that money.
And it'll be interesting to see what is recommended, because some states do have privatization, but also some states are known for very brutal prison systems too. So,
you know, I think if I became a counselor, I would look at all of that, like you do as a business person, you know, and throughout your day you say, should I do my own janitorial service or should I contract it out? Should I do my own hood cleaning of the restaurant hood system, or do I do it myself? And as a small business person, I've always enjoyed maintaining that control by doing it from within. But I use the word small, that's the operative word. You know, for a state as large as we are, it may be something that we'd be better off having an outside source. And again, I would think a main part of our job is to control the budget, but also to find ways of saving the state money.
Okay. Now, as you know, particularly in this area, there are lots of people who would like to see commuter rail extended into New Hampshire, even as far up as Concord. And I know that, you know, the Governor's Council rejected federal grants of over $3 million, I think it was 3.4, that would have paid for some of that preliminary work leading up to bringing commuter rail into New Hampshire. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, right now, it's temporarily moot. What is your opinion on getting commuter rail extended into New Hampshire, and do you think that the council should have accepted those funds, even though there would have been matching funds of about $910,000 needed?
It was that much that we'd have to put
yes.
up. I would say that I have good experience, or great experience, with commuter rail, because when I was on the Chamber of Commerce a few years ago, that was a very hot topic, and I chaired one of the committees that looked into it.
Greater Manchester Chamber?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the same time, I used my experience in that very nice bio you read earlier. What you didn't mention is one of my jobs, or one of parts of the premier catering at the airline, was we serviced Amtrak.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Out of New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
Out of the Boston station. So we literally drove a truck down with 2,000 meals a day.
Amazing, I didn't know that.
And interesting, working with Amtrak and holding your breath every year for additional funding to even put food on the trains. So I think I've been, you know, watching that very closely and realizing that it's very hard to sustain.
Yes.
And my feeling is, and I noticed this driving to Boston not too long ago in the morning, there's less cars on the road. I think in today's world of people working at home and not commuting into the city, I think with the unemployment rate the way it is today too, I think for commuter rail to work, you have to have mass. And we only have 102 or 1,003,000 people here. I'm not sure we have the density to make it worthwhile. Very expensive.
It is expensive.
Very expensive.
And the wild card always is the cost. And,
Yeah.
and I think, admittedly, even the staunchest railroad advocates will admit, I don't think there's a commuter rail system that can pay for itself through passenger fares. So, there'll always be some form of subsidy. And again, what's the best bang for the buck, like you say?
The other part of this that I was listening closely to was the fact that, well, I hate to turn away, there's no such thing as free money. We all know free money, free is not really free, and
Right.
900,000. But at the same time, you don't want to turn that away, but don't we have so many other more priorities? And I think the council was wise in saying, not right now. We've got to attack a few other issues before we go back to looking at nice to dos, because that's how I look at that. And
So you still
again,
basically have an open mind.
I
to
really
open
do.
other
And if
situations,
we
yeah.
had an influx of about another 200,000 or 300,000 people in the southern part of the state, it might make some sense. But for right now, I think there's a few other things to focus on.
Sure. Now, the Governor's Council plays a huge role in determining the state's 10-year highway plan. You're a Bedford resident, so you know that the Bedford Town Council has pushed for the Route 101 widening in Bedford to be a high priority in the plan. The state DOT originally had it on the 2019 schedule, but largely due to Ray's effort, it was now moved up to the 2016 schedule. Now, I mean, truth be told, there are people in New Hampshire who don't consider the widening of Route 101 in Bedford to be one of the most paramount transportation issues they've ever heard of. As a council member, do you feel that it is more important for you to battle for the project within your district, a project like this, or to support a project that has the bigger need and bigger benefit, even if it happens to not be in your district?
Well, for anyone that doesn't think that Bedford needs 101 widened, they should be out on 101 at 9 in the morning. For the better part of the last 12 years, I've been spared that because I go to work at different hours than
Yeah, your
most
business,
people.
yeah, a little different.
So
yeah.
I haven't experienced it until late, and no question it would really make a difference. I think you have to look at the community, and it's not just, I'm from Bedford, there's 19 communities in this District 4.
Right.
It encompasses a large part of I-93. I can say that as a person who goes back and forth to Massachusetts and enjoys Boston as well as New Hampshire, what they did on I-93 is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes a difference, and I think it's why we have the commerce we do at the lake. It's why the liquor stores on the highways do so well.
Right.
So I think, I mean, you got to remember where your roots are, and I would certainly push for things that I felt maybe helped the businessman in the communities. Widening that would give us a whole opportunity for businesses to expand. I think you'd have to consider the safety issues. Sometimes not doing something creates more problems, and I'd probably review to see the traffic accident ratios that they have and things of that nature. So again, I'd work hard to keep District 4, in the forefront. But like I said, that's a big district.
It is a big district, yeah. Yeah, a lot bigger than I thought, quite honestly.
Sure.
Now, those who oppose Obamacare wanted the state to join in the lawsuit with several other states that don't want it implemented in their states. And in New Hampshire, only the state's Attorney General could do this, and of course our current Attorney General would not. Now, his term is going to be expiring in 2013. Thus, the council will get to decide whether he will be reappointed, should he request such, or will vote on someone else whom the next governor will nominate. What kind of questions will you have for whomever will be considered to be the next state Attorney General?
Well, I think that the current Attorney General, I would have to believe that he got his marching orders from the governor. And, that's being a loyal employee, quite honestly, and doing what your boss tells you to do versus being told by outside forces. I don't think I understand the relationship well enough I know from an outsider looking in, it seemed like we should have jumped on the bandwagon. I mean, 40-some states can't be that wrong. And, you know, I can tell you again, going back to my comment about health care and being at the board at the Elliott, something needs to be done, whether it's Obamacare, New Hampshire care, you know, whatever you want to call it. We just can't continue. The model we have today is just unsustainable. So I think going back to the question about the AG, you know, I'd rather have a better understanding of what liberties he has, and can he do whatever he feels is in the best interest of the state, or does he get some direction? I'm sure it'll be a big bone of contention when his time is up.
I would guess, yeah. And I have no idea whether he's planning on wanting to be reappointed. I really have no idea. I suppose that might depend on which party grabs the governor's chair this trip.
Exactly. And you'd have to look at the performance, again, as how I've managed people. You look at the performance as a whole. You know, if you start nitpicking, it's easier to make a case one way or the other all the time. But in the years that he's been in the position, how often has this happened? Does he have some strong reason for doing it? Does he have the right to do it? Again, believing that local is better and pushing everything down to the lowest level in government is a lot more efficient. I would have hoped he would have gone along with, I think, the Senate and the House's recommendation.
Okay. Now, what do you judge as the most important duty of a governor's counselor with respect to who's next going to represent our district number 4?
I think the word that comes to mind, Kathy, is accountability. I think it's keeping the governor accountable. I think, you know, while I've never had public office, I've always felt that, you know, public servants and politicians, you know, they are, you know, they work for the people. And you have to take that very seriously. And it's disappointing to see sometimes when some of these folks in elected positions take the liberties that they do. I mean, maybe it's my background as a restaurateur, but if I don't keep the constituents slash customers happy, they don't come back. It's kind of like not re-electing you. And so you have to, while you want to maintain principles and standards and things of that nature, you do at times, I think, have to listen to the criticism and see, you know, what are the important issues. But accountability and ensuring that it's you know, holding a public position is held in high regard, and always kind of having the integrity that these folks elected me and worked hard to get me elected. I can't let them down. Yeah, the accountability word comes back to me.
Now, you know, this is the first time you've run for office, correct?
Other than, I think, the hockey team or the fraternity or a few things like that. Yes, yes.
Because, you know, that it's kind of interesting because of the 4 candidates in your race. You're kind of the first one that has not, the only one in the race, I should say, that has not either held office or tried for, in fact, I guess all of them have held office.
They have.
So now you've entered a whole new arena. As you say, there are a lot of parallels to the type of business that you have. But politics, of course, is its own strange animal. How are you liking it so far?
Well, it's hard work.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give them all credit. To get elected is hard work.
It is.
And I can tell you that I've used the term, I feel like I'm back in college because I have this guilt cloud over my head.
Don't tell me because of Animal House or something.
No, but that was my era. So the guilt cloud that there's always something to do. If it's not posting a sign, it's meeting people, it's at a picnic, it's getting your name out there. Again, I think the point of difference is that I haven't been an elected official, so no one can say they didn't like my voting record because I didn't have any.
You're coming at it with clear eyes, so to speak.
I really am, and I've been in a very visible business, kind of in a fishbowl. So I think people have a pretty good idea of what I'm all about. I think, you know, it's not like I was in a widget company and I ran a manufacturing organization. I mean, between my board work and all the charitable organizations that I seem to get involved in, you know, I'm around town quite a bit, and I'm at the restaurant. So if nothing else, I think a lot of people know me, at least on the surface level.
So despite the rigors of campaigning, you are having some fun.
I am.
Good.
I am.
Well, that's what we want to hear, yeah.
Well, you know, what I'm really liking is how people take this so seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you, I was prepared to come today in kind of an open collar shirt and a sport coat. And it wasn't but a week or so ago that an elderly lady who probably voted for George Washington came up to me and said, "You should wear a shirt and tie, young man." And it resonated with me that this is the real deal. And even though I'm comfortable and it seems to be a standard accepted, you know, dress code, that I'm going to take that advice. And but people are very passionate. I mean, I can't get over from beeping as you're on the side of the road putting in a sign, and to having an opinion, and wanting to know everywhere which way you stand. So it's been fun.
Well, as you can see, we're almost running out of time. So what I would like you to do is that camera right over there is going to be trained on you. And now's your chance to tell those folks out there watching why they need to vote for Chuck Rolecek.
I have to be careful because usually when I make this pitch, it's to have them come to my restaurant. So I have to make sure I
You can do that
talk
too
about
if you want.
the steak special. But you know, as Kathy just said, this is my first run at political office. I've stood on the sidelines for the better part of the last 15 years as I've owned the event center and seen many, many public servants, politicians come through. And I think I've gained a little bit from every person that I've come in contact with, from Bill Bradley to Bill Clinton to George Bush, Senior and Junior, and many of the people that didn't make it all the way. What I hope to bring to the Executive Council is a business mindset. And that business mindset means there's a focus on improving efficiency, eliminating waste, eliminating fraud, and getting things done. I believe that you know, in government, U.S. and state, and a lot of levels, there's a lot of talk. It goes back and forth, a lot of rhetoric, but I can assure you that if I'm in that position, we will get things done, not haphazardly, not without a lot of thought. And we probably won't focus on too many things that have happened in the past and try to keep the ball moving forward. So I ask for your vote. I'm a hard worker. You can't be in the restaurant industry as long as I have if you're not a hard worker. And I'm prepared to do what it takes to win the primary and the general election in November. So.
Well, it has been a pleasure having you here today. And, you know, maybe someday in the future, I'd like to have you come back and talk about the restaurant industry, because that's a fascinating one all by itself. You game for that?
I'm game for that.
All
That'd
right.
be very nice.
And, of course, if you win the primary, I will be on the phone trying to get you back over for another interview.
That'd be great. Love to come back.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Best
Thank
of
you,
luck in the
Kathy.
campaign. And to all of you watching, as you know, the name of this show and the motto of this show is Tell It Like It Is, and we love candidates who aren't afraid to tell it like it is, and I think Chuck did a good job today at that. So, until the next time, thanks for watching, and until then, you tell it like it is. Bye-bye.